we are so privileged to have these problems. If this is my problem, that I can't figure out how to make a ghost kitchen work, or I can't figure out how to get a brand deal for my media company, or I can't figure out how to get a client, that's a great problem to have.
I lost over $324,000 in a 6-month period trying to start an Amazon business. It nearly broke me, nearly destroyed my marriage, my whole life, it nearly bankrupted me. How did I come back from that? Someone asked me that question the other day, and I got to thinking, it's resilience. Resilience is how I bounce back. But how? How do I have that resilience? Where did that come from? And that's where this show comes in. This is the Resiliency Project, where we'll be interviewing people from all across the nation, from many walks of life, discussing their biggest failures. Not the highlight reel, but the moments in their life where they thought about quitting, but didn't. And we'll investigate what causes that resiliency. Where did it come from? How did it develop? Can we build a framework? And can it be taught? That is what we'll discover here together on the Resiliency Project. So, Shawn, how are you, man? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. And anyone that's watching, anyone that's listening, I hope to share all of our failures, my failures. I failed spectacularly so many times, lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the restaurant business and in the media business. And I'm really excited that you launched this show, because as entrepreneurs, I think the hardest thing for us to do is to talk about the times we fell down. Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and the things that we see on TV are all the success. They never show the people when they're working in their darkest hours. And I'm really proud of you for launching this and excited to get going.
Well, thank you, Shawn, and thank you for your help in helping me launch this.
Of course.
And, one of the quotes that always sort of sticks in my head is from Ray Kroc, actually the founder of McDonald's, because in the early 60s, when McDonald's was taking off like crazy, a reporter asked him, he was like, you're an overnight success, Mr. Kroc. How do you explain it? And he said, well, the night was 52 years long. So, that's the thing, right, is that failure and success, they're tied together, that you can't have one without the other. And so, Shawn, I'd love to hear, what's your biggest failure? You said you failed a lot, right? Restaurant, media, across the board. Which one takes the cake?
I'll share, obviously, a couple different stories, but one that's most recent. We believe in building in public. So I have a media company and a restaurant company in San Diego. We have 3 restaurant locations, been in business for 18 years. It's me and my wife, my incredible team. We also have a media company. We made no money for 5 years, so we failed miserably, chasing a podcasting idea, a storytelling idea, and eventually we started to generate revenue. But during the pandemic, as everyone knows, the brick and mortar businesses that were in business tried to do things to stay in business. And one of the things that I did was getting into ghost kitchens. As a media company and as an owner operator, I felt that this was a big opportunity. Delivery was important, not only to our barbecue brand. We wanted to be the Amazon of barbecue. I actually told our ghost kitchen sales rep that we wanted to be the Muhammad Ali of ghost kitchens. I believed very deeply in the idea of getting great barbecue to different locations in San Diego and selling it from a distribution standpoint. We spent.
Well, let me stop you here for those listeners that don't know what a ghost kitchen is.
Sure,
You aren't
thank
filling
you.
a kitchen with ghosts, right?
Absolutely. Definitely not a scary kitchen. We thought a friendly ghost kitchen, but a ghost kitchen is basically a distribution center. So if you think of what a food court is when you go to the mall and there's multiple different brands all in a food court, this would be without a mall. So there was no public facing, you can go in and sit down at a restaurant. It was literally a building, call it a big square building, that was divided by the landlord and put 20 different concepts in for delivery only. So for Uber Eats and for DoorDash and for Grubhub and for online ordering, customers would find you online and then go to these ghost kitchen locations. We felt that because we were a media brand, we had been in business in San Diego for, like I said, 18 years, that we would be able to tip the scales, that it would be a low cost of entry, meaning that we wouldn't have to spend $500,000, $1 million to build out a new restaurant location. In fact, I would say on average we've probably spent about from 45 to $75,000 spending on 200 square feet to add brand new equipment, add the team, add the inventory, and then actually start selling. Unfortunately, not only did we fail, but we failed publicly. I was on TikTok, I was on YouTube, I was on podcasts, I was on stages talking about building ghost kitchens and doing it the best we can. I think, I teach storytelling to business owners and to restaurateurs especially, and their biggest fear is exactly what happened to me. Their biggest fear is having a video saying that you're going to do something and then falling on your face. I could easily not address the fact that we failed opening
Yeah.
up those ghost kitchens. I don't need to go on stage and tell every time I go on stage, talk about, hey, we opened up ghost kitchens. We had 3 different tries at it. We failed every single time. I don't need to do that. No one's making me do that. But the reason why I do it is because every time I do, the audience connects. Restaurant owners come up to me afterwards and they say, Shawn, thank you for your courage. And everything else is more credible because we all know as entrepreneurs and business owners, we all know that it's not as easy as it looks. When you walk by a full restaurant and you're like, wow, must be nice. I'll tell you right now, not only that it must be nice, but the amount of work and effort and time and failure and pain and money lost and relationships and burning the candle on both ends and wives asking you, husbands asking you, when are you coming home? You chasing this crazy dream. That is all real. It's so real. But you got to have the courage to say it. And, I'm so excited about this project that you're working on because it's up to you to get entrepreneurs to share the messy stuff. I have an 8-year-old boy, a 6-year-old girl. My son, when he was young, I would teach him Batman and say, Colleen, why do we fall? He goes, I don't know, Dad. We fall so we can get back up.
Yep.
Yes, Batman. Yes, Bruce.
Yeah. So, I mean, Sean, take me through the failure though, because obviously at the beginning, everything seems so obvious, right? Like it's definitely going to work out. Absolutely. Everything is rosy. It's perfect. Where do you think you kind of missed? Obviously there were some assumptions you made. Where do you think you missed? And then how did you discover that miss?
Good question. I think going back at the ghost kitchen model and looking at how did my team, it wasn't for lack of leadership. I have a great team. Howard Solomon, our chief operating officer, Eric Olafson, my chief financial officer, Steven Swiderski, catering manager, Gene Goycochea, barbecue. Like we, Stover on our media side, Kyle on our media side, like we had the team that we needed to execute. I think that the market wasn't ready. And I also think our assumption on being able to drive first party delivery without dependency on Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. I think that was our big misassumption, was that most of the volume comes from the key platforms where people are. And customers just aren't used to going on Google Maps, finding barbecue, and then going to Barrio Logan, which is where one of our locations was. Great location if you're getting delivery into downtown San Diego. Strategically, you can get delivery into Coronado. I mean, on paper, it made all the sense in the world. Execution, someone's not going to drive to Barrio Logan to buy first party delivery, and third party delivery just cost us too much money. And there wasn't enough volume.
Interesting. Interesting. And so when did you kind of have that come to Jesus moment, right? Because I think that a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of hanging on too long, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to kill the dream, but ultimately we have to be unemotional about our business endeavors, right? Because at some point it's going to kill you, right? It's just going to bleed you dry. When was that moment for you? And take me through it. How did you get there? And then what happened next?
So obviously financial pressures are obviously going to come up, being the ability to pay bills, the ability to pay all your bills. You decide, okay, we have the restaurant in Spring Valley, we have the stadium location, we have these ghost kitchen locations. If the ghost kitchen locations are taking away from cash flow from the restaurant and from the stadium location, you have to financially start to take a look and go, we have to have an honest moment. Like, what do we need? What have we done? What do the financials look like? What is going to change that is going to change these financials? What is the time and effort required to actually make this make sense? And would this time, effort, and resources be better allocated to a different project? So, the big bet that we made during the pandemic, I mean, really before the pandemic, was the media company. So we do media for restaurant technology companies. So companies that sell to restaurants like Toast and Restaurant 365 and Uber and Pepsi and US Foods and Google, these companies hire our company to either sponsor our shows that we do, which is restaurant influencers, digital hospitality, or we create custom shows for them. That business is doing really well and started doing really well while the ghost kitchens were struggling. And this becomes the paradox.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, and I'm saying this to myself really right now, is like, how does a tree grow? It grows once you start pruning the branches. And a lot of my mentors and the people that I look up to, I'm starting to learn and I'm starting to hear this lesson more and more, meaning that I need to actually listen to it. The tree grows once you start cutting branches. And as entrepreneurs and business owners, we love to grow branches because sometimes the deep work, the hard work, the work required is painful and it goes nowhere. 5 years, I didn't make any money doing media.
Yeah.
5 years I had a podcast. 5 years I was like chasing this podcast idea. Like Behind the Smoke turned into digital hospitality, and I had a producer, and then I hired Stover, and then we, started combining the barbecue and the content, and we started writing blogs. And all the while, my wife has always been supportive. Eric has always questioned, from a financial standpoint, why are we doing this? Does this make sense? But like, thankfully, during the pandemic, it did start to make sense. We made a Toast unboxing video. Toast is a point of sale company.
Yep.
They're now publicly traded, $7 billion company. They service over 150,000 locations. They are the Apple of restaurant technology. And we told them that we're going to start to make content for them. This was around the same time that we were opening up ghost kitchens.
Wait. Okay, so hang on. So you failed spectacularly, right? You've had
Failed
absolutely no progress. And so you go to Toast, massive company, and say, hey, we're going to make you guys money.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Where does that sort of gumption or the belief come from that, you know what, even though it hasn't been successful yet, I'm still betting on myself and I can do this? How do you explain that?
Undeniable belief, a relentlessness. I was raised by my Bulgarian grandfather. I never met my dad. So my grandfather, he raised me. He was a Bulgarian immigrant. He was literally grew up to be a farmer. He was destined. He was the only boy. His parents had two other daughters. He was supposed to take over the family farm in Bulgaria in the village. But like, because of his persistence and his relentlessness to study and to become educated, he read every single book in that village. He was the top of his class. He couldn't even get into Bulgarian medical school because he didn't have money and he didn't have power. When he got rejected into Bulgarian medical school, he goes, well, there's other medical schools in the world. I'm going to go and try to get into a medical school in Germany. Well, the only problem was he didn't speak any German. He had to learn German in order to get into medical school in Germany. And guess what? He got in. And when he got in, he had to learn German to learn medicine.
Yeah.
And this is all during World War II. So as an international student, the Nazis were recruiting international students to come fight in the war. And he's like, I'm just here to study medicine. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And like, because my grandfather raised me, because I helped write his memoir, I've been able to go and see the resiliency that my grandfather had, saying that no matter what, he's going to keep going. No matter what, he believes in himself. And then when I look at ghost kitchens or media, these are minor problems to what my grandfather had to go through. And given your father and your grandfather before you, like, we are so privileged to have these problems. If this is my problem, that I can't figure out how to make a ghost kitchen work, or I can't figure out how to get a brand deal for my media company, or I can't figure out how to get a client, that's a great problem to have. Oh, and by the way, I have ChatGPT and I have Gemini and I have Claude and I have all of these tools at my disposal, which my grandfather didn't. He had hard paperback books, and whatever book was in the library, that's what he could read.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so I mean, really, it's almost ingrained in you. So I mean, Shawn, let's back up a little bit. How'd you get into business for yourself? How'd you get into the restaurant world? How'd you start all this?
So I thought that I was going to go to law school. As I said, my grandfather was a medical student, medical doctor, and he wanted me to follow in his footsteps. And for me, I was never good at the sciences. I was never good at chemistry, never good at biology. It wasn't a good fit, but I convinced him that I was going to become an attorney. And I studied to try to get good grades for, obviously, for law school. Applied to all three law schools in San Diego, and I got rejected by all three. It was
Blessing in
harder.
disguise.
It was harder telling my grandfather than anything else. Than actually opening up the letter and getting the rejection. Telling him about the rejection hurt more than anything else. But I told him I was studying business. I was studying sociology. I cared. First of all, sociology made no sense to him. He couldn't wrap his head around that. And I mean, even to this day, it's funny because the main thing that I do is people. Like we tell stories with people, and we do it online. Sociology's actually served me very well in the work that we do. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to get in the restaurant business. I grew up in the restaurant business. In fact, bussing tables, washing dishes when I was 13 years old at my grandfather's breakfast restaurant. I hated it.
Wait, so he was a doctor and he had a breakfast restaurant?
He had a breakfast restaurant. He had single family homes and commercial real estate. So as after his medical career, always learning, always educating himself, became a real estate developer, a real estate broker, started developing single family homes, built a condominium complex, built a retirement facility, and started a restaurant that our family took over when I was 13 years old. So every weekend, instead of playing sports or going to the beach or doing whatever normal people did in La Jolla, I was driving out to Spring Valley to bus tables and wash dishes.
Holy cow. And is that the same location that your barbecue restaurant is at?
Yep. Yep. This is for those that are watching on YouTube. Watch on YouTube, but I'm showing a picture of myself at 13 years old washing dishes. The same dishwasher is at the restaurant right now. Not the same
Wow.
dishwasher, but the same dish location. Excuse me.
So okay, so it was a breakfast restaurant. Was it like a full scale diner and you changed the menu or
Full
what
scale,
happened?
full scale diner. We took over. It was a successful breakfast concept, and me and one of my best friends, Corey Robinson from University of Colorado, he moved out here, and we added the liquor license, and we added dinner service. So on the West Coast, 10 a.m. games kick off for NFL at 10 a.m.
Yep.
There was no liquor license. No one was serving Bloody Marys. No one had cocktails. No one had draft beers. So we
Oh.
added that to the concept, and then we added a dinner menu. It wasn't until about a year later that we actually started doing barbecue, and then really started leaning into barbecue.
So why barbecue? Why not sports? Like to turn it into a sport?
We did sports, but I think one of the early lessons of entrepreneur and business owner was leaning into things that are different. It's funny. The harder something is, the more valuable it is.
Yeah.
The harder something is, the more valuable it is. And doing barbecue is so hard. Doing correct craft barbecue, picking the right quality meats, picking the quality seasonings, using the right pits, using the right recipes, cooking low and slow, 14 hours. None of it makes financial sense. But if you do it right, then you have a compelling proposition for the 3.3 million people in San Diego County to drive to an off-beaten path, which is where we're located, to Spring Valley to come out and try our barbecue.
It's funny you say that because it's kind of the same thing with my business, right? I'm a tax attorney by trade. When people talk to me, they're like, or other attorneys, they're like, "Why do you want to do that? That's really hard. Like, it's just
Yeah.
there's so much to know, and like there's so many little nuances." It's like, yeah, well, that's why I'm doing it because there's so few people willing to do it, right? And I think to your point, I guess that's a good point. I don't know many barbecue restaurants, even in my own area, right?
The interesting thing about barbecue is that just because you can do it, number one, doesn't mean you should do it. And number two, doesn't mean that you're going to do it well. we wanted to make phenomenal barbecue in San Diego, California. And San Diego is a city of transplants. So people come to San Diego from all over the world, but especially from the barbecue meccas of the United States. So you think of Texas, you think of St. Louis, you think of Memphis. All of those people come to San Diego and they have a particular way that they like their barbecue. So it was a bold position for us to actually lean into barbecue, but it also took us time. You know, I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan, the Mamba mentality, 1% better every single day, relentless pursuit of perfection. We were bad at barbecue in the beginning. And like
Huh.
we had a master barbecue pit master teaching us. But even though that he was teaching us, our brisket wasn't good. Like we didn't even put brisket on the menu until months after we decided to go all in on barbecue because it just wasn't ready. And, you know, correlate what we do in barbecue with what we do in media a lot, and that's low and slow. All the things that are the most rewarding in life, they are hard to do, and they take time, and they take persistence, and they take resiliency. Cooking great brisket did not happen overnight. It didn't happen in the first year, but now the brisket that we make 18 years later, it's the best brisket we've ever had. And if my team does their job, next year it will be even better than it is today.
So, that is just so wildly different from the hustle culture that many entrepreneurs live in, and especially what's displayed on social media. So, how do you cut through that noise and really explain that the secret isn't a secret at all? It's just putting one foot in front of the other rather than any of these kind of get rich quick schemes or these things you see on social media where it'll take me a month to make you a millionaire. What do you say to these people?
I say that there's lessons and stories around us every single day from our childhood that teach us the things that we need to know as entrepreneurs and business owners. The tortoise and the hare is the perfect example. We live in a hare world. Everyone wants to be, I want to be the rabbit. I want to be the first one off the race. I want to be the one winning all the gold. I want to be Usain Bolt. I want to be the best. I want to be the unicorn. The person that wins, the tortoise, showing up one step after another every single day. And guess what? The hare burns out. And guess who passes them? The tortoise. Because they just didn't stop. Like the I love sports. I grew up playing sports, and one of the things that I've always remembered is there's people that you want on your team, not because they're the most talented, but because they'll never quit. And because you would hate to play against them. Because every single game, every single season, every single year, they get better and they just don't stop. Every single time they get back up and they do the work that's required when everyone else is playing, they get there early and they do the things that no one else is willing to do. The amount of things that we have done for our media company to get where we are today, for me to be on this show with you, for my team all over the world to be taking care of very important clients, it's remarkable. But it's only remarkable because of the 8 years of reps that we have done to get here.
Right.
In the beginning, when I told everyone I'm launching a podcast, and this isn't to say anything about your podcast, but it's what I tell every new podcaster and anyone that's listening to this, everyone's going to stop. Just don't stop. Treat it as a craft. This is modern storytelling. This is modern connection. And if you learn how to do it and you ask questions and you're relentless and you're the tortoise, guess what? Platforms are going to change. Riverside's going to be different. StreamYard, Spotify, YouTube, all of those things will change, but the storytelling will not. So if you learn how to be a better storyteller today and tomorrow, and you learn how to do more, because the answer is quantity plus speed plus consistency will eventually equal quality.
Huh.
Everyone wants quality first, myself
Yeah.
included. That's the fear. We don't want to look stupid. We don't want to sound stupid. We want it to be perfect. Guess what? It's not perfect. It's messy. It's messy. It's ugly, but you got to start. You know, one of my favorite quotes is from Arthur Ashe. Start where you are with what you have and do what you can.
So powerful. Shawn, I'm going to ask every guest, and I guess, for me, this is my first step of 1,000, right? We're
First
starting
step
this
of a
podcast
thousand.
today. I love this. I love this energy. I'm going to ask every guest the same last question. This
Okay.
one is for you. So what does resiliency mean to you?
Resiliency is what are you willing to do when no one's watching? As somebody that publishes his entire life, anyone that follows me on Instagram knows that I basically vlog my life. In the morning, sunrise gratitude when I'm up, what I do with my kids, what I do with my media company, what I do with my barbecue business, what I do as a charger. I vlog my life. But guess what? There's a lot that I don't vlog. There are a lot of reps that are happening. That is why we're doing deals with Uber and we're doing deals with Toast and we're doing deals with Restaurant 365. There is so much that doesn't end up on the internet. And that's the stuff that matters. That's the resiliency. Resiliency is, are you willing to do the work when it's dark? Because when it's light, you better be ready.
Man, Shawn, that is so powerful. I appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of
And
course.
everyone, stay resilient.